SQC-1 refers to the standards on quality control issued by the ICAI, provides guidance on the quality control for firms that perform audits and other assurance engagements. The objective of SQC-1 is to ensure that the firm and its personnel comply with ethical requirements, and have appropriate policies and procedures in place to ensure that the firm's audit and assurance engagements are conducted in accordance with applicable standards and regulatory requirements. The standard provides guidance on the following aspects of quality control. 1. Leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm. The standard requires the firm's leadership to assume overall responsibility for the firm's system of quality control. Specifically, the standard requires the firm's leadership to I. Establish policies and procedures for the firm's system of quality control. E. Communicate the policies and procedures to the firm's personnel and ensure that they understand and comply with them. E. Monitor the firm's compliance with the policies and procedures and take corrective action where necessary. IV. Provide sufficient resources to support the firm's system of quality control. V. Assign responsibility for the system of quality control to one or more individuals with appropriate authority and accountability. Vi. Evaluate the effectiveness of the system of quality control on a regular basis and take action to improve it where necessary. 2. Relevant ethical requirements. The relevant ethical requirements include integrity. The firm and its personnel should be honest and straightforward. Objectivity. The firm and its personnel should not allow bias, conflict of interest or undue influence of others to compromise their professional judgment. Professional competence and due care. The firm and its personnel should maintain professional knowledge and skills at a level required to ensure that clients receive competent professional services. Confidentiality. The firm and its personnel should respect the confidentiality of information acquired as a result of professional and business relationships and should not disclose any such information to third parties without proper and specific authority or unless there is a legal or professional right or duty to disclose. Professional behavior. The firm and its personnel should comply with relevant laws and regulations and avoid any conduct that discredits the profession. 3. Acceptance and continuance of client relationships and specific engagements. The standard requires firms to establish policies and procedures for evaluating the suitability of clients and specific engagements before accepting them. The policies and procedures should cover the following. Client evaluation. Firms should evaluate the integrity of the client, its management, and its owners, and assess whether there are any threats to the firm's independence. Engagement evaluation. Firms should evaluate each engagement to assess whether it is within the firm's capabilities and resources. Acceptance and continuance decisions. Firms should document their acceptance and continuance decisions and the basis for those decisions. Monitoring. Firms should establish procedures to monitor client relationships and engagements on an ongoing basis to ensure that they remain suitable. 4. Human resources. The standard requires firms to establish policies and procedures for recruiting, developing, and retaining personnel with the necessary competence, capabilities, and commitment to ethical principles. The policies and procedures should cover the following. Competence. Firms should ensure that personnel have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience to perform their roles effectively. This includes providing appropriate training and development opportunities. Ethical behavior. Firms should establish a culture of ethical behavior and ensure that personnel understand and adhere to the firm's ethical standards. Assignment of personnel. Firms should assign personnel to engagements based on their competence and capabilities, and take into account any threats to independence. Supervision. Firms should provide appropriate supervision to ensure that personnel perform their roles effectively and in accordance with applicable standards and regulatory requirements. Performance evaluation. Firms should evaluate the performance of personnel on a regular basis and provide feedback and coaching to support their development. Professional development. Firms should provide personnel with opportunities for professional development to ensure that they maintain and enhance their competence. 5. Engagement performance. The standard requires firms to establish policies and procedures for planning, performing, and evaluating engagements to ensure that they are conducted in accordance with applicable standards and regulatory requirements. The policies and procedures should cover the following. Engagement acceptance. Firms should evaluate each engagement to ensure that it is consistent with the firm's values and business objectives, and that the firm has the necessary competence and resources to perform the engagement. Planning. Firms should establish a detailed plan for each engagement that addresses the nature, scope, and timing of the work to be performed, and that identifies the significant risks and any areas of focus. Execution. Firms should perform the engagement in accordance with the established plan and any applicable standards and regulatory requirements. This includes conducting the work necessary to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidence to support the conclusions reached. Supervision and review. Firms should provide appropriate supervision and review to ensure that the engagement is performed in accordance with the established plan and any applicable standards and regulatory requirements. Reporting. Firms should communicate the results of the engagement in a clear and concise manner, and in accordance with any applicable standards and regulatory requirements. 5. Monitoring. The standard requires firms to establish policies and procedures for monitoring the effectiveness of their system of quality control on an ongoing basis. The policies and procedures should cover the following. Monitoring of engagement performance. Firms should monitor the quality of their engagements on an ongoing basis to ensure that they are performed in accordance with applicable standards and regulatory requirements. Monitoring of the system of quality control. Firms should monitor the effectiveness of their system of quality control on an ongoing basis to ensure that it is operating effectively and achieving its intended objectives. Documentation of monitoring activities. Firms should document the results of their monitoring activities, including any deficiencies or opportunities for improvement. Remediation of deficiencies. Firms should establish procedures for addressing any deficiencies identified through monitoring activities, including taking appropriate corrective actions and making any necessary improvements to the system of quality control.